Hi, I'm Michael London from Microsoft Partner HSO. Now, have you heard of Clare's Law? And Clare's Law is a change in the law that allows people like you or I or other members of the public to make inquiries to our police forces about the history of our partners. And what it effectively is a domestic violence background checking service, I suppose. But what it means for the police forces is that managing these inquiries is a very labour intensive and very time consuming and entirely manual process that from the point of the inquiry coming in is then working out, well, how do they then put that response together? Where do they find the information for the response? Who needs to approve the background checking? Who needs to approve the steps through before then the original inquiry is responded to? And as I say, it's a very manual process and very time consuming, but there is a better way, as we found. Now, I had a chat with HSO Client Director Alex Metcalf to talk about this new way of managing Clare's Law process, and it's called Clare's Law Insight. So, Alex, what is Clare's Law?
Clare's Law is the common term that people use to describe the domestic violence disclosure scheme. So DVDS, Clare's Law, is where members of the public can ask a police force to disclose information about a partner in relation to any history the police may hold as to their behaviour to previous partners. So disclosing domestic abuse. And you don't have to just ask for yourself. You can ask on behalf of a friend or a family member as well. And it's about safeguarding people and people keeping themselves safe and keeping themselves informed of being reassured sometimes that their partner doesn't have a history of domestic abuse. But if they do, they can put measures in place to keep themselves safe and so often as well to help the partner change their behaviours. Get support, get counselling, get help.
Yeah, which I think is a great initiative.
Yeah.
And so how does it work then? So from a individual perspective, who's making the inquiry, and then what happens then at the end with the police forces managing it?
So if you need to make a request, the easiest way is to do it online. Every force has got a portal via the website, a form that you fill in, and then that arrives in the police force, and they then do the necessary checks on police national computer, police national database, the in-force records management system. They might look at social services records. They might speak to housing associations because there's quite a lot of partnership working through the multi-agency support hubs, safeguarding hubs, the MASH teams. So they'll do their in-house checks, and it's then where, how do they manage that? How do they record that? Because there's certain things they've got to do. So they've got to do the initial check within 24 hours.
Yeah.
They then have to confirm the identity of the people that are making the request, and that there is a relationship there because sometimes people are a bit cheeky and a bit sneaky with the police and might ask for information they shouldn't be entitled to. So the police do those checks. No, I know. It was a bit of a surprise to me 23 years ago when I joined the police, discovering that people lie to the cops.
Unbelievable.
I know, it's unbelievable. So the police do all of their checks, and if there's information to disclose, they'll tell you. If there's no information, they'll tell you. And sometimes though, they might not be able to tell you, and that's the difficult one. And that's then about the police making a good and recording those decisions that they make. But they have to complete all of the checks and everything within 15 days.
Yep.
And then an inspector will authorise a form of words that's read out to the person to say, this is what you need to know about the person you're in a relationship with. Okay. Now, at HSO, we've recognised that the way that police forces are doing this isn't always the best. I know that from working in policing, that, do you know what? We record a lot of stuff on spreadsheets, and spreadsheets are great if you're an accountant for using numbers, but they're not really designed for managing policing processes. But But police forces have built those processes because that was all the tools that they've had. Now they've got Microsoft 365, they've got the opportunity to build digital solutions to manage police processes. And that's what we've built with Clare's Insight to support police forces.
So effectively, they've been using manual processes, existing things, existing tools that they know they're familiar with, spreadsheets, as a lot of organisations will know all about this, to manage that particular process, which I imagine makes it quite painstaking and a bit laborious and not particularly easy.
Yeah. So member of the public submits the request via the form. It then comes as a PDF into an email inbox. So a person has then got to take that information and put it onto the spreadsheet. That's labour intensive straight away.
Indeed.
I mean, I could tell by the look on your face. You know, Michael, straight away that, first of all, it's error strewn. Second of all, it's wasted effort. We shouldn't have people doing that sort of work in this day and age. So the first things that our Clare's Insight solution does is it's still a web-based application. You fill it in, and the information that the public submits goes straight onto the system. Now, I know that often the public don't submit the right information, but it's there, and a human's not got to move it from one place to another place. So that's the start of it. It then allows the practitioners to quickly and easily record what they've done, and it's tick boxes. Have I checked PNC about the person they're making the request about? Yes. Is there information? Yes. Is there information on PND? Is there on the records management system? Tick, tick, tick. And then they look at, do we need to make a disclosure? Is it reasonable? Is it necessary? Is it proportionate? Is it lawful? And again, it's yes, no answers. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So it's really, really simple to record those processes, send them through the chain. If you're not going to make a disclosure, the sergeant reviews it. If you are going to make a disclosure, the inspector reviews it, checks the full words, all signed off, done. And it's super, super easy to produce. Having, like I said, 20 odd years of policing experience, 18 years frontline, 5 years designing and building digital solutions, making sure the data processing is correct, it's legal, it's safe, it's secure. So that's all built in. But also, this is the process that I would want when I was in policing, whether I was the person doing the work as a detective, whether I was the sergeant managing it, whether I was the inspector authorising the decisions, or whether I was the senior police officer responsible for making sure that that process was efficiently and effectively managed. All those things are in there. So we've got a dashboard so that you can see where your demand is based on district. You can see where things are overdue. You can see where your pinch points are in the process, and where something's, you've got to allocate a few extra resources to that today to get on top of the demand that you've got.
So the bottom line is this. So if you're making an inquiry, your responses are getting managed faster, and you're getting responses much quicker than you were before. And from a police force perspective, it's easier to manage, more centralized. You get more clarity, and you can respond to the inquiries faster yourself, and therefore people are protected effectively.
Yeah, exactly. The whole point of everything, for me, even though I now work for a private sector company, I've still got those public sector that drive to serve the community, and that's what I've tried to build, is something that makes it better for the delivery of the service to the public. And you've described exactly that. It's better data processing, it's more efficient, it's more effective, you've got oversight of the process, and it's actually quite nice to use for the end user as well. That's the other thing. There's nothing worse than using a horrible, clunky system, because that just adds to your frustration at work. So we even tick the well-being box for making something that's nice for the cop or the staff member actually doing the work in the first place.